Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Project Code Unnati. And this is our webinar wherein we talk with experts and you get to know more about it. To give a brief about Project Code Unnati, we are working with the students across 3 districts of Karnataka, Raichur, Dakshin Kannada, and Bangalore. We provide the students career guidance and counseling to help the students make informed choices. Today, we have with us Soumya. Soumya, who is the founder and CEO of Nilha Advisors, an advisory firm that works closely with startups and investors in India and other countries. This is her second stint as an entrepreneur. Soumya has worked with both startups and large MNCs across B2B and B2C sectors. She is an advisor to several startups across sectors and also an active mentor to accelerators such as Techstars Startup, Weekend, Seedstars, Startup Purple, and so on. Soumya is a strong supporter of women entrepreneurs, especially women in tech in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Welcome to the webinar, Soumya. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Anshika. It's a pleasure being here.
To begin with, Soumya, I would like to know a little bit about your career journey and your foray into entrepreneurship.
Sure. My introduction covers most of the things that I've done in my career, but to just add, I started off my career as a brand manager. Marketing strategy was my focus. That was my core skills that I started working on and building in my initial years of my career. But then eventually I started identifying my calling. I started getting more and more involved in the startup ecosystem, worked across different sectors, right from education to advertising to gaming. That gave me a very broad spectrum of opportunities that are available out there. It also in some ways paved the path for me to try my hand at being an entrepreneur. Way back in 2012, I started my managing consulting firm at that point of time. And yes, got more involved in the startup ecosystem, working closely with the founders, working for startups, working with startups, and then eventually working even with the VC community. And that finally led me here. 2020 is when I again took a decision to start an advisory firm to help startups end to end, not just Indian startups, but also foreign startups that are looking at potential growth opportunities in India. So yes, worked across sectors, worked in different capacities. That gave me a lot of learning and experience. And now I think I enjoy working with the founder community, startup community, and helping them with achieving their goals.
Thank you, Soumya. That's a very good journey you had and a very wide range of experiences. I'm sure the students will learn a lot from this. So just going ahead, what are the qualities you think a college student should have to become an entrepreneur? Or what are the challenges which they can think about, when they're just starting off to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, there's definitely no secret sauce or a success formula to say if you have these qualities, if you have these experiences, then you will be a successful entrepreneur. It's always a different permutation and combination. But having worked with different founders of different age groups, of different backgrounds, what I can say is there are definitely certain qualities that a founder or an entrepreneur should definitely have in him to even be an entrepreneur, to even continue being an entrepreneur for a long time. So one is definitely empathy, and the other is being resilient. So why being resilient? Because if you have to be an entrepreneur, you will be facing a lot of tough situations. You will have to make tough decisions. You may face failure at every stages. You may find very few successes. So to face all of this and still stand strong, be a big support for your team, to take your vision forward, you'll have to be resilient. So that is one of the most important aspect of being an entrepreneur. Because if you're someone who gives up very quickly, then the startup journey for you or an entrepreneur journey for you will be very short. Definitely empathy, because you need to understand what your customers feel, how they perceive you or your product. You need to understand how your team is feeling, how people who work with you feel. And also you need to be aware of your own self about the things that you go through, right? So definitely there are a lot of qualities required to be an entrepreneur, but these two qualities definitely stand out for me. I've seen that in most of the founders who have been successful so far. Right. And of course, it goes without saying, you need to be dedicated. You need to be someone who's constantly learning, someone who can constantly unlearn as well. Right. So these are some of the qualities that I feel that one should have to become an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Soumya. Yes, those are like the most important qualities which any person should actually have to be successful in their career. So just moving next, how do you think the young people can identify the business opportunities, like which area they can take it now move into an entrepreneurship? Because as you said, you had a wide range of experiences and then you decided that, you start. So what is that one thing which the young person should be looking for?
I think I just want to burst a myth here, which I think most of the student community has there. They look up to a lot of successful entrepreneurs, successful companies, and they always feel that I can also build a Flipkart or I can build an Amazon, right? One important aspect is try not to be a me too idea. Try something which is your own, which is definitely solving a problem for many people out there. Again, not just solving a problem which is to your community, to your friend circle, to your family. It has to be an idea that is solving a larger problem for a larger set of people. Only then you will be able to visualize and build a bigger product and grow your company and your idea. But having said that, one thing which is important for students to identify and say, okay, this is the reason I want to become an entrepreneur. My biggest, suggestion to them is identify what you are interested in. If it is something that you're passionate about, could be your hobby, could be your interest. If that can become your idea that you want to start a business with, nothing like it. Because just like your career or a regular job, if you're doing something that you do not like, then you might lose interest in it very soon. But pick up something that you like doing, right? And pick up something that you feel that very passionately about. It could be a problem that you're solving for your community out there. It could be a problem that you're solving for people that you really believe in. So ideas that are close to your heart, ideas that you might be passionate about, is something that will really help you even visualize a larger problem, idea for that problem that you are seeing. So your passion can become your career option as well. So start with that. Start to identify things that you're passionate about. Start to identify things where you see a problem and how you and your core skills that you have can solve those problems. That can be a starting point. Of course, there's a lot of ways for you to evaluate how you want to become an entrepreneur. What is the idea that you should start working on? But try not to copy something that someone else has done because it worked for them. Try to be something different and unique that's solving a problem which nobody else has identified or nobody else has created something for that problem.
Thank you so much. That's like a brilliant advice, that do not chase the same solutions. Try to build your own solutions. So moving ahead, what kind of online or offline resources can you just recommend for these students if they want to read more about entrepreneurship, or if they want to really just get into this, jig of being an entrepreneur?
See, it's difficult to say, like I started off by saying, right? There's no success formula for being an entrepreneur. Again, in India, there are very few courses as well for entrepreneurship. So these are not some skills or passion that you develop by studying. It's always something that you should feel that you have it in you to become an entrepreneur, to start a business, to give employment opportunities to people out there, right? So when it comes to online or offline opportunities where students can go and study something, gain some experience, there are definitely plenty of opportunities, right? Starting off with startup events that happen. Of course, because of COVID situation now, most of the events happen online, which makes it even more easy for students to attend these events online. When I say attend events, these are events where a topic is taken. They're talking about a certain sector or a very successful entrepreneur or a founder is coming there and sharing his experiences. So these are biggest learnings for students, getting the first-hand experiences from people, trying to understand what are the things that are trending out there, what has worked, what has not worked for certain people. And of course, these are also platforms. Events are also platforms where people launch new things or showcase new things or new trends in technology that's happening, not just in India, but elsewhere as well, right? So these are opportunities which they can definitely utilize, be part of some of these online events, which are relevant for them. What happens is there's so much events out there. There's definitely event fatigue also for us, even when there was offline events happening. So as students, you need to utilize your time very well. So identify what are the kind of events you want to be part of, what is going to be more useful for you. There's no point in being part of multiple events online, sitting there listening to a lot of people, which is not even resonating with you. So use your time efficiently. So be part of some of these startup events, which will give you access to people that you may not have access to otherwise. So that is one. Definitely, I would say if student community wants to build a good network, be active on LinkedIn. That is where, at least that's one of the top professional platforms where they can not only connect with people professionally, which may help them in their careers, but also to understand what they're posting. I'm not biased towards any platform here, but it's at least more relevant content that's being put out there on LinkedIn, which might be relevant to them. I wouldn't suggest a Twitter, where they can follow some of their people that they idolize. LinkedIn is more professional because they get to read blogs, they get to read articles, announcements, of course, all of those things. So LinkedIn is definitely something they should start as a habit earlier on, to connect with the right people, connect with the communities out there, understand the discussions that are going on, also participate in those discussions in some ways. I'm sorry, I'm only able to think of more online platforms where they can gain more information and be more interactive there. As students, when we started off, there were hardly any options for us. I think LinkedIn was still around. We were just getting used to LinkedIn, but now students have so many options, especially online, right? You name it, you find topics on any topic, right? Content on any topics, be it NFT, blockchain, metaverse, or anything way back. How did all this technology start? Anything you can get the information, but try and don't try to get surface level information. Try to get in-depth knowledge. So if you want to learn about some particular topic, try to go a little in depth and understand and get content or information from different sources. So one of the sources that definitely helps me when I'm trying to learn something new is definitely podcasts. There are a lot of podcasts out there for you to listen to. People, of course, there are a lot of well-known personalities who are on these podcasts who explain these topics or the new age technology really well. It could be about anything. So get into the habit of listening to some of these podcasts that are relevant for you or relevant to the topic that you are looking at understanding and learning something more about them. Since I gave a lot of online recommendations, one of the things that we as students did that really helped, at least definitely helped me, and I see that this also has been helping some of the students who volunteer to some of my startup events. These, again, participating in these kind of volunteering services also helps students connect with people, build network. And, for all you know, one of them could turn out to be their mentor, willing to spend some time with them, listen to their ideas, right? So I would also suggest students to, wherever possible, volunteer to be part of some of these kind of events, where they will get the experience. They will also be able to network with a lot of people and learn. So yeah, these could be the online and offline opportunities for students to gain some knowledge, understand what's happening out there. I hope that answers the question.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. So thank you so much, Soumya. That was like super helpful. And I'm sure the students will also find them super helpful. And yes, networking is definitely important. And LinkedIn actually has paved a way to make it more easier. So just moving ahead, the government has also been encouraging students and everybody else to become an entrepreneur. So can you let us know which are the kind of schemes or any kind of monetary aid which is available to the college student who are probably looking for some support from the government?
Yes, there are definitely a few schemes or initiatives started by the government a few years ago to encourage entrepreneurship within students. It's not about making sure students turn out to be entrepreneurs. It's about at least giving them an experience, giving them that opportunity to try something new and evaluate if they have it in them to become entrepreneurs. So there are definitely a lot of schemes. The government has allocated funds to help college disseminate these funds to students who have brilliant ideas and have the capabilities of starting on their own. Again, these are not focused only on IT or a tech-based ideas. It could be anything. It could be anything from agriculture to problem solutions, education, and so on. It need not have to be only tech. It's all about understanding the ideas that they have, get the validation through the panel that has been appointed, and the colleges will grant that amount to the students to actually go ahead and try and execute their ideas. So there are definitely some of the schemes. I'm sure most of the students already are aware of some of these schemes that governments have. Apart from that, I'm aware of some of the colleges themselves encourage entrepreneurship. So colleges themselves have a fund allocated to support students who have startup ideas or want to be, even if it's a small or medium-sized company they want to start. Colleges themselves have funds and they support these students in the form of scholarships as well. And another interesting thing that most of these colleges have started doing is to have corporate connections, tie-ups, right? To bring in college experience and the corporate experience at that stage, which will help the students, go ahead and try their ideas that they have, the business ideas that they have. So that is actually going to help students in this approach of encouraging entrepreneurship, because connecting the corporates gives them an idea of what it is that the corporate world also expects them. It helps corporates also identify the talent that some of these students have. We've seen brilliant ideas come out of college students, right? Right from building electric vehicles to finding solution to clean water, whatnot. So that's why one of the reasons why corporates are also interested in tapping this student community earlier on is, one is to definitely help them as a CSR activity, and also to identify talent. By doing this, all the parties gain, right? The student community, the colleges, and of course the corporates. So these are some of the initiatives that are happening out there and being promoted as well. So students have to become more aware of what are the opportunities and schemes and benefits they have out there and utilize them.
So this was very helpful, Soumya, and I know the students would be interested to know more about these schemes which could help them, or the corporate opportunities. But are there any specific entrepreneurship schemes for women, specifically young women? Because women generally find it difficult to get these funding and everything in the initial stages. So is there any specific schemes by the government which encourages women entrepreneurship?
Yes, definitely. Again, if we're not talking only about tech and include even non-tech, that is small and medium-sized companies and initiatives led by women, there are definitely a lot of them. Of course, if you see, digressing a little bit, some of the biggest VC funds in India have now started smaller funds focused more on the women entrepreneurs. They want to dedicate the funds to support women entrepreneurs itself. Even without that fund allocated for women entrepreneurs, most of our VC ecosystem have always backed women. So that is a very encouraging thing that's been happening in India. And I'm proud to say that we've had a lot of support backing women entrepreneurs for many years. When I always compare that to the other ecosystem, other countries, we're fortunate that we've always had the backing. Of course, even the governments have always had schemes and initiatives to support women entrepreneurs. But the way I see it, earlier on, it used to be about helping women start small businesses, could be making papads or pickles and that kind of businesses, right? It's moved. Definitely, we've come a long way from there. It's no longer about papad and pickle associated to women. Now women are talking about tech. Women are talking about solutions. Women are talking about solutions where you can go to the moon kind of ideas, right? So definitely there's been a lot of backing from government. I spoke about the funds, the VC ecosystem itself backing the women entrepreneurs, but there's always Niti Aayog doing a lot of initiatives supporting, encouraging women entrepreneurs. Then there is one example I can give you is VHub, Women Entrepreneurs Hub, started by the Telangana government, only focused on women entrepreneurs in tech across sectors, right? So there are definitely a lot of opportunities. And again, smaller organizations that are focusing on giving a platform for women entrepreneurs. There's WEPI. They're definitely doing a lot of events. They encourage entrepreneurs. They identify women achievers, give them the recognition that they need, so on, right? There's so many smaller organizations also supporting women entrepreneurs. All we have to do is look them up, be associated with them, understand how to be part of these communities. What is the advantage of being part of these communities of women? We're supporting each other. So that's the best we can do to gain all the advantage of these kind of platforms that are there.
Thank you so much, Soumya. Even I was looking into it, and there are like right now networking, so many networking platforms which have come up exclusively for women, like Aspire for Her, etc., which is actually enabling the women to network and share resources. So that's really great. Are there any specific support and for the people with disabilities for this entrepreneurship by the government, by the VC community, which you have been talking about? Like, are they also encouraged to become an entrepreneur and provided with funds?
See, the government always had schemes, a lot of schemes that they had for people with disabilities. There were loans that were given at better interest for people with disabilities. But again, you'll have to understand one thing, that these were all for small and medium-sized companies that they want to set up. And we've all known how encourative or supportive people have been for people with disabilities starting their own companies, right? But that's definitely changed over the period of time. I wouldn't say, I'm not aware of any particular schemes out there to encourage entrepreneurs with disabilities. But definitely it's a very open system right now, very inclusive. Large corporates are always looking at encouraging people with disabilities to be part of their employment, to be part of their team. That's very encouraging. But there's no specific fund or such by VC community to support people with disability, but they're always open. I think they focus more on the idea and the capabilities of the founder rather than these kind of things to say, okay, people with special needs will get special treatment. I don't think VC community thinks that way, at least as of now. Not in the wrong way, but that's how we look at it. If they have the capabilities, they have the zeal in them to, to run a company, to take the idea to the next level, and and have a good growth for the company, we definitely would like to back them. But government definitely has a lot of schemes. They've had it for many years. Not specifically to say for startup community, people with disability will get this kind of schemes or support. Nothing of that sort, but yes, they have loans that they would get through special yojanas that they have, and encouragement like that.
Thank you so much, Soumya. And yes, I think right now people everywhere are focusing on inclusivity, and we do have some very good entrepreneurs who are specially able. So moving ahead, what is one best advice you actually received as an entrepreneur, and you would like to share it with our students?
Best advice that I would have is to, best advice that anybody would give me as an entrepreneur would be to have patience. That's something that I think everyone tells an entrepreneur, to have patience. But yes, one thing that I've learned the hard way is to be more out there. Networking is very, very important for someone like an entrepreneur who is building something, right? Networking is the most important thing. I learned that the hard way because I was too shy. I was not the kind of person who would go out there and connect with people, network with people, and be in touch. But it's not something I forced upon myself. It's something that grew onto me. It's something that I understood is required. It's a talent. It's a skill that you need, right? Of course, people around me help me understand why networking is important, and how I built my network over the last 10 years sometimes surprises me. But yes, definitely one of the advice that I received as an entrepreneur is to understand the importance of networking. But otherwise, I would like to say, it's mostly by observing people that I understood what is important for an entrepreneur. Most of the things I learned by observing my previous bosses, how they handle situations, how they've handled people. Yes, it needs a lot of patience. These kind of things are not easy to handle. It's a huge responsibility. So yes, having patience is definitely one thing that people would, that's an advice, definitely an advice that people have given me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I totally agree on the networking aspect. I'm also someone who's not very into networking, learning about it and the importance of it. And so what is the advice you received was to have patience. And what will be one advice which you give it to the youngsters, which is the guru mantra, like, you should follow this. So what's that one advice to the youngsters who wants to be an entrepreneur, or who in general are just college students and moving out?
So like I mentioned earlier, right? Don't follow a trend because it's trending. Have your own style. Identify what interests you. And one most important thing as an entrepreneur that I've learned is to understand yourself first. What is it that you want? Who are you? What are your key skills or core skills? What are the qualities that you have, and what are the qualities that needs improvement, right? So understanding oneself is definitely important when one is becoming an entrepreneur, because you will know what you are good at, what you're lacking, and when you're finally hiring a team, you need to compensate, balance it by bringing on people who can fill in the gaps, right? So understanding oneself is definitely important. So like, for example, I know what I'm good at, especially when it comes to certain tasks that I handle, or even knowledge about certain things. I know what I'm not so good at. So I know that I need to bring in people who are smart at handling that aspect of the business, right? And suppose I'm kind of someone, an entrepreneur who doesn't really have patience. I need to have a co-founder or another person in the team who can take the responsibility of having the patience and handling situations better. So understanding oneself is definitely important for any entrepreneur, whether you're starting off as an entrepreneur or at later stage as an entrepreneur. Also, it's definitely important. Another trend that I've noticed over the last few years, I've always wanted to speak about it. I've spoken about it in a few places as well. There's always this trend, right? College doesn't teach you anything. And some of the successful entrepreneurs nowadays have the tag given on LinkedIn, on everywhere, that college dropout, dropped out of MIT, dropped out of IIMs. Do not follow trends like that. If you feel that education is important for you, if you feel that education is going to give you that stability, go ahead and do it. If you strongly feel that education is not helping you in any way and you know better, it's your call. But do not follow any trends which might be misleading. That's definitely one advice I give to students every time, because it's very easy to follow trends at that age when you're not sure about what would be the right decision for you. Yeah. So I think
that's like the best advice. That's like the best advice which you can give the students, that do not just blindly follow trends. Have your own, list of what you want to do and whether you should actually be following that trend or not. And the other brilliant advice which you actually said, is to be able to identify yourself, like, have a knowledge of your own strengths and weaknesses. So I think I'm pretty sure the students will take away a lot from this session. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your journey with us. So yeah,
Thank you,
thank you so
Anshika.
much. I'll just end with.
So, Deepika, Soumya, I think I would like to say that this is a very free-flowing interview on entrepreneurship. A lot of takeaways. If I have to summarize it in a line, I would say that this webinar was all about hope, being hopeful in terms of looking at opportunities and leveraging those opportunities, as well as being resilient. Because one thing which I could find, Samya constantly bringing up in different ways was the need to not to go with trends, not to follow, something because everybody else is doing it. It's also important to have self-awareness, and with self-awareness comes the grit to build your business, scale it. Also understand that you can't do everything. As Soumya was saying, you need to know what you are really good at and then bring in people who are experts. And of course, patience. And that complementary bit, that if you're going to bring in somebody who's a co-founder who's exactly like you, if you are impatient and that person is impatient, it doesn't really augur well for business. It's always good to have complementary skill sets. And it's very insightful, because usually when we look at building large organizations, everybody says that when the organization is large, they want everybody to be similar to each other. But in the building journey, it's so necessary to have that craft, to bring in people who are experts so that you can create a great value proposition. So thank you, Anshika, for being a wonderful host today and eliciting a lot of insights from Soumya. uh, i would uh, I would also want to thank Soumya for making it to this webinar. uh, we have been in touch and trying to get Soumya's time for this. Because of the turbulence of the pandemic, we've had to reschedule a few times. I would, again, extend our gratitude on behalf of the UNDP Code Unnati team. Thank you for, making it for this webinar. And I also know that you do it because of your love for entrepreneurship, and to ensure that entrepreneurship awareness is there for college students, especially students who are from rural places in Karnataka. We have one more segment, Soumya, for you, which we call as Voices from the Ground. As Anshika and as you're aware, Project Code Unnati focuses on career counseling, career guidance, employability skills, and 21st century skills. One of the core aspects that this year-long program has also focused on is entrepreneurship awareness program, where students have been given an immersion in entrepreneurship, and we've had entrepreneurs come and also address them at different districts, which is in Raichur, Bangalore Rural, and Dakshina Kannada, where this program is currently being deployed by our career coaches. We have another organization which is a part of this Project Code Unnati, which is focusing specifically exclusively on having an entrepreneurship challenge, where some of our students who are on this program have also, with deep interest in entrepreneurship, have gone for that. Uh, and they also are currently focusing on entrepreneurship. The reason why I'm mentioning this is you are somebody who has worked as an entrepreneur, if I can say so, because when one looks at your career graph, you started your career with a startup where you scaled that startup to greater heights than when you joined it. Subsequently, you worked with established brands in the advertising marketing field like Ogilvy and Mather. You worked with Zynga, which is a gaming pioneer. You also worked in the startup ecosystem with both boutique and large-sized entrepreneur accelerator firms, VC firms, and you have headed an organization, the India operations for a APAC focused organization. So you have seen entrepreneurship in all its forms and diversity. And there's this question that we always ask: what is the right age to start on entrepreneurship, right? And whether it should be taught in schools or colleges, or we should finish schools and colleges, and only after they start working they should be taught. So from your diversity of experience, we would like to know from you if, what are your thoughts on the relevance of programs like Project Code Unnati, and do you feel it's required? What are your ideas, opinions, and perspectives about programs like these?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for summarizing the discussion so beautifully, Shravan. We were just going with the flow. I just wanted to share as much as I know, so the students can benefit from some of those experiences I've shared. So thank you for summarizing it so beautifully. Um, Actually, you had a very relevant point with that question, right? Because it's very difficult to say when should I start, especially people who have already started their career in corporate world. They keep procrastinating. They keep saying like, should I, have a stable job, have a safety net, and then go and start my company when I have everything ready? Or is it I just have a brilliant idea, I'm IIT, IIM graduate, I have a brilliant idea, I have it in me to go and start a company, I do it right after my graduation. There's definitely, like I started off by saying, there's no success formula, there's no secret sauce for it. It's all about the capabilities of an entrepreneur, the conviction with which he or she feels that he can go and achieve what he wants to achieve. Having said that, we've seen in India itself, we've seen so many millionaires and billionaires happening at a very young age, even less than 20 years, right? We've seen startup founders, we've seen kids, teenagers who are very good at coding, who started their companies and have employed so many people, right? So there's definitely no age restrictions or age for a person to become an entrepreneur. Again, whether you have to be an entrepreneur of a small company or is it a startup, it's a different debate altogether, right? Because understanding what a startup is and understanding what other businesses is also important. What I would still like to say is understanding the subject or the topic on which you want to start a company or you are building a solution is the most critical thing. If you feel that there is a problem out there for which there's no solution or people have not given too much importance and you feel that you can go and find a solution. Like, for example, just out of the blue, I'm giving an example saying, how has waste disposal become such a big business in India now? How is waste being converted to something more usable, something which has become a business idea also for a lot of companies out there that are doing extremely well and are employing people, right? So anything, the idea could be anything, but as long as you have in-depth knowledge and idea about it, of what this problem is or what the sector is, who is my competition, and what is the solution that I'm providing. The conviction is very important. And yes, definitely, it's important for people to have some sort of experience. Let's not forget, most of these founders that we're talking about could be Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, who all of us idealize, right? What did they do? They all had some kind of experience before they started off big. During their summer vacations, they did internships. They went and asked for internships. They went and asked for things from large companies like Dell and so on, where they got the kind of exposure, experience. They were rubbing shoulders with the biggest geeks out there. They were getting some kind of experience, right? It's important for students also to get that kind of experience at some point of time to understand how it works, functions in a corporate environment, how it works in a startup. So the ideal way for you to get that experience is to get the right internship. And then you will have at least some experience to say this is how it works in a corporate world. So it's that is still my biggest suggestion. Recommendation for students. Do not just start off with an idea and a conviction that you feel that nobody's doing it, so I'll do it, or everybody is doing it, so I'll do it. Try to get some sort of an experience and deeper understanding of the problem, because instead of going out there and failing miserably, it's good that you tried, but at least fail after you have tried something big, or you've given it all. So experience still does make a difference. age doesn't matter, if that's the question that you were asking.
So thank you, Soumya, for validating some of the aspects of the program that we haven't explicitly stated as well. Because right now, part of the program, we are also focusing on linkage with institutions, with corporates, entrepreneur associations like I Bangalore, for example, as well. So this specific emphasis on internships is great validation for us. Our program manager Anshika, who's also on this call, who's also the cluster manager and the person who's asking the questions. She would be the right person to talk probably more about it. But to just keep it relevant to this context, we are talking to multiple organizations to give students this kind of an exposure and also specific exposure to what entrepreneurial skills are. So thank you for highlighting that, and also highlighting that age is not the criteria, but experiences, and some experience is better than no experience in terms of incrementally, moving on that journey of being an entrepreneur. One more request to you, Soumya, would be that, as we are shaping these internships and employment opportunities for students, we might have a set of students who are, very specifically interested in self-employment or interested in entrepreneurship. So if it would be okay with you, I'm sure Anshika would want to reach out to you by curating a batch of these students and taking them on a Zoom call with their questions, and to see if you could guide them, especially knowing that you have passion for supporting women entrepreneurship in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities as well. We would love to curate this because we have a lot of young women and of course men as well, whoever's interested would be interested in taking advice from you. So just wanted to check with you on if you'd be open to that.
Sure, definitely open to doing one more session to talk to students, because you never know what kind of questions they have or hurdles they are facing. So happy to spend some more time with the student community and help them. And we are also open to taking some of these students for internships as well, because at Neela Advisors, we have a year-long internship program, but of course it depends on the availability for each department. We are happy to even support students with internship whenever required, because as a student, I know I benefited a lot by doing internships in different organizations, and there was a lot of learning. So it's something that I want to give back to the community. So we always encourage entrepreneurship in every company that I worked with, especially in Neela. We would definitely be happy to provide internships to students as well.
That's fantastic. Great to know that you would be open to also taking students on internships. What we can also do additionally is that beyond the scope of this program, also we are looking at connecting organizations such as yours directly with colleges, so that there is a longer industry institute partnership also, so that the overall quality of students in terms of career readiness, job readiness is also impacted positively. Thank you so much for being so open-minded and offering our students who are from the aspirational districts of Raichur, Dakshina Kannada and Bangalore Rural. Thank you so much. I'm sure Anshika will follow up with you on this. Thank you once again, Soumya, for making it for this webinar. I also want to put in a note of appreciation for Anshika, our program manager, and who's doubling up as a host today, for her work behind the scenes and also in front of the camera today, so to speak. Thank you, Toshi, once again for managing the back end of our digital reach out on YouTube Live, as well as the recording of this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Look forward to having you students and the other stakeholders on this program log into our webinars over the next few weeks and months as we navigate this program further. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having
me. So much. And I'll surely reach out to you, Soumya.
Thank you, Anshika.
Have the interview.
Thank you for having me. It was, I think it was
so much.
Time well spent. Thank you, Toshi.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.